We'll see how Golden Guardians takes to it as we get into picks and bans, as TSM look to solidify their fate here towards the playoff position. Gangplank to start off on phase 1 of bans.
And Lorlo there looked like he was about to choke on some water. He's having a good time already. That looks like Golden Guardians.
That's a good time?
Oh yeah, I mean he's laughing, right?
I'm drowning!
It's good spirits for the team so far.
Varus locked out of the hands of TSM. And now what will they have?
I like the ban of the Rakan, banning away Rakan or Xayah as the red side.
No Swain
sometimes does work out, and I think you know, it makes it so that you aren't really going to take the Xayah Rakan in your number 1 or 2 on the red side. Swain very powerful as well on this patch.
A few teams will let it through, and you always say why, but then they can keep it in check, and you kind of give them the high five. You give them a bit of a thumbs up, but more than not, right? You just see Xayah and Rakan, we say up that CS at 15, they have lane control, and they just can create so much trouble. So break it up. We get him on the ban list. Kha'Zix there, the final ban for Golden Guardians, as they take out Mike Young's kind of play through here in the last few weeks. Has been having good results on Kha'Zix. Olaf as well, as they hit contracts before we get into the picks.
And this means Skarner jumps up in priority. Very, very popular champion, but also quite powerful. And with the Olaf taken away, I think that actually even just ups it even more, because Olaf is seen as pretty much the number 1 counter, or at least champion that can deal with it. But they're going to go with the Caitlyn.
Say definitely is important to us this game.
But winning bottom lane in particular, they're going up against Sven and Mithy.
Exactly.
Deftly and Matt, they've looked a little bit like Deft and Mata sometimes in that bottom lane. Been able to crush it a few times in this back half of the split, but they have lost the last 3 games in a row with pretty much even score lines for themselves. 2-1-1 for Deftly, 2-2-0 on a different game. So he isn't getting completely destroyed in these lanes, but he has been favoring that Caitlyn in the last 2 games for some lane priority.
Yeah, I'll hold you to that. The Deftly and Madeline. Hansler locking in the Skarner for Mike Young. The strategy of the top laner picking the jungler of the jungler's position. They just have it all. I'm just kidding. Kench now, possibly that safety pick here for Mithy. That's going to be a nice one for them, actually. Get somebody out of it, ace in the hole, or whatever Golden Guardians is going to be able to throw at them next.
Yeah, so far it's looked like in the last second half of the split, Mithy has pretty much gone with Braum almost every single game that he can, and then it was banned both Braum and Tom Kench, and he had to go with Thresh. So it's between Braum and Tom Kench seems to be the 2 he goes between. Unless they're banned, then he'll jump down. So it's mostly protection for Sven in that bottom lane. I wonder if Sven will go for Ezreal on this patch. Hasn't really been changed too much at all since like 8.4. Whereas things like Tristana did eat a little bit of a change to the range, increase in rocket jump damage. So the priority on that champion has changed as well.
We have seen a lot of supports going to the Tom Braum mom position to play in that defense.
And TSM in particular really like it on Mithy to protect Sven.
Ooh, a little engaged. There's the Kate Thresh in the bot side. We'll have to see what Golden Guardians decides to put in the jungle, and if it will trend down towards that lane to get some hooks in to start the kills.
But I like the fact that Matt's going back to comfort. Matt Life, back in the day, modeled after Mad Life, those famous Thresh plays, the Blitzcrank hooks. Really idolize that guy, and Matt, he loves these champions that can make plays, and basically the wins that they started to get came off of really clever level 1s that Golden Guardians executed from Matt, and we'll see what they're able to do here up against Sven and Mithy. We have yet to see what that AD carry champion is for Sven, and I wonder if Golden Guardians will actually start targeting that down, because we don't know if this Scion is going top or mid. It is still a flex pick.
Yep. Been talking about if Bjergsen would be hit with bans. He actually gets no bans towards the mid lanes, decides to go for Ryze for himself, as High allows himself to be pinched out here with a bit of no parity, within the starting picks.
Yeah, it could be the Scion for High, and he might build like a Banner of Command mid. But at the same time, I think TSM, if they're going to make sure that Bjergsen is safe, they go for the Orianna and possibly Cassiopeia bans here to make sure that it's not a counter pick. But if you think that it is a mid lane Scion, you just throw 1 mid and 1 top, especially with that Camille ban coming through. That does kind of key you off and give a little bit of a exclamation mark, like, hey, they might be picking something top lane, just like that. You ban away what the Camille is the hardest counter to, and that's the Gnar.
Definitely using the rest of their time here on the countdowns to make sure they get the compositions they want and choke out that last solo lane of Lorlo's Gnar. Camille's out of the question from the side of Golden Guardians. We've seen that in the hands of Contracts and Lorlo. What do they want to deny? Actually, Trundle away from Haunter. They say a lot of power is coming from that top lane. They already banned his Gangplank away and a few others, so that'll be the last one as we get back into picks.
But right here, Cho'Gath, still a very powerful pick in the top lane, can actually deal with Banner of Command, and it'll be kind of the Sven classic here. I got to count these up real quick if he locks this in, because in his last 7 games, he has played Ezreal 5 times. Only 2 of those times has he not played it, and he played Varus and Tristana. But yeah, the Cho'Gath comes through, so they are saving that final pick for Sven here.
And he's only died twice in those 2 games, by the way.
Out of those 5.
1 death in each of those of the 2. So pretty crazy play. Safety from him, so they're kind of allowing him to provide his own safety, but still look out for their AD carry along with that Tahm Kench they've picked up. What do we have on the side of Golden Guardians, though? Ooh. We already got a little Nocturne earlier. Contract says now it's my time to shine on the nightly Nocturne. What do we have for Matt?
Nocturne got a few buffs. His clear is much healthier because of the Umbra Blades. And at the same time, I do wonder what he's going to accomplish here, because I personally do not like Nocturne into Tahm Kench. Because if you jump after whatever Sven's on, if it's an Ezreal, he'll E away, and even if that follows, he's going to get just nommed up by the Tahm Kench, and then the Skarner will grab the Nocturne, and the Nocturnes do not usually build tank.
True. So they're just going to have to go for Tahm Kench. See, I'm envisioning you hear this Scion bell, the dinner bell rings, and then everything goes dark. And then you have no idea where Scion's coming from. It's going to be terrifying. But, like you said, it could be easily countered. You can get knocked up, you can get silenced once you get in there, or just possibly eaten up by Haunter's Cho'Gath. Pretty sweet compositions as the Anivia's locked in here for high in the mid lane, so they have a bit of control if they do start getting pushed in on the waves. Hopefully they've denied TSM Baron at that point. There's the lock-in as well. It is going to be the Ezreal locked in for Sven as they get themselves loaded.
Yep,
on the blue or red side, I should say.
So he has played 8 Ezreal games this split. The next highest AD carry is Varus, Tristana, and Kog'Maw, all tied with 2. So he's played 4 times as many games on this Ezreal this split. His KDA on it is 19.3. So far, he has very good performances on this Ezreal, and that's why he keeps going back to it. I believe he's only had 2 games where he's even had deaths on it. One of the games he had 3
times here, so 5 overall. Because he actually has another deathless game against CLG back in the other week. Absolutely crazy. He knows what he's doing.
Yes. He's had many deathless games so far, and it just seems like he's
Will
going to go
this
for
be
safe.
one of them is the question. It's what they need. They need another deathless game. They need to get through. They need to not worry that Golden Guardians has just about 0 pressure on them as they look for that playoff position.
Well, Golden Guardians, they don't want it to be a deathless game for Sven in this one. They drafted the Caitlyn, they drafted the Thresh for pressure in that lane, they drafted the Nocturne as well to potentially go after these lanes, whereas the rest of it looks like a little bit of a turtle strategy here to kind of put that shell on for Golden Guardians and maybe make it to that mid game, but we'll see what Contracts is able to do. He's picked things like Volibear, he's brought out all the stops before. He's the guy I'm looking at here today alongside that bottom lane.
A 9-7 TSM looking to put another win in that column on the left side. Nothing wants to go on the right for them. They're looking for the playoff position as Golden Guardians playing for CLG here. The GG-CLG against TSM. We're into the Rift. All right, so pretty calm mid lane we should have in the beginning with Hai and Bjergsen just kind of farming things up. We might see a little bit of pressure towards that Tahm Kench lane if they're kind of to focus Mithy. What do you kind of see Contracts doing here in the early portion of the game?
I want to check his route in particular because Nocturnes can actually start pretty much anywhere with the HP he gets back. He can actually start on the Raptor camp if he wants to, but it does look like he's taking the Hunter's Machete. I expect him to go for single target camps and maybe cycle for level 6 where you full clear your jungle, then you back, you get your items, you full clear the camps that respawn on respawn, and then you get level 6 right at the end. So
you're saying the lanes have to play safe?
I think they should. I think they should play relatively safe. I don't think Nivea would have kill pressure on the rise, and you can even see Hai is taking cleanse and Summoner Spellbook to make sure he's extra safe here in the early game.
That's true.
And then Lorlo, I feel like you just go ahead and you wave clear. You just use the Scion Roar of the Slayer, which he already has put a point into, and you just make sure that it has a neutral lane. The bottom lane is the only one that I think you have really any business going towards as the jungler early on. But things change constantly, all the time, based on the ebb and flow of the game and trades that people make in lanes.
A lot of shouting towards that top side with Cho'Gath and Lorlo on Scion.
And you can see here, Contract starts on the top side. A lot of people like leashes on the bot, but he's going to start top side here, and then he's going to make his way down to the bottom side. But Mike Young on the opposite side has done the same.
He's hitting up Raptors, hits his EQs. The Skarner should be through that quick as we see Contracts going for Gromp. No level 1 shenanigans in the bot side. A few auto attacks back and forth. Mike Young, the quick clear on his Spires. You can see him moving just about the same time as Contracts will have the Duskbringer Q. Movement speed to get through his jungle as well. Not much of a push in. High keeps it just outside his turret, but a good job by Bjergsen to kind of get the upper hand in this lane as he should and force it into the turret ASAP.
And you can see the bottom of the screen, the playoff scenarios. If TSM win, they will lock in playoffs, and that will be all 6 teams. And CLG will not be able to make the miracle run. But if TSM lose and Golden Guardians win, CLG will have kind of control of their destiny. Would have to win 2 in a row.
Does that mean you also have to have no faith in Golden Guardians? How deep does the faith go?
I think you have to believe in Golden Guardians as CLG fans. You have to believe in Golden Guardians, give them your energy. And they take down TSM. It comes down to the rivalry match of TSM versus CLG tomorrow. If Optic end up losing to CLG. But look at this, Bjergsen's already invaded with the pressure he has. And Contracts can flash away. He did use the spell shield there to make sure that he doesn't eat that E from Bjergsen.
Early push to the turret, as well as Mike Young being down towards that bot side. Started on the top. Actually, kind of meets there with Contracts, and still he is doing the Krugs, doesn't have a chance. So TSM working very fast off the early flow of the map to get some pressure.
And I like that from Mike Young pairing up with Bjergsen to get that deeper vision. And they really want to keep tabs on Contracts because his route brought him to the bottom side. And if you can ward up that bottom side jungle and dissuade Golden Guardians from going in there, they don't have as much protection for that pushing lane of Deathly and Matt. Which you want to hover. You want to go ahead and shadow that lane and make sure that the jungler is there for Golden Guardians so that you can push up and then you can have 3v3s if the enemy jungler shows up.
And look at that, as you said, full clear, screaming through. TSM able to grab the Scuttle Vision. He does have his Krugs to start on, but we'll see what both junglers go from here. Nice flay forward as they get the damage onto Mithy, choosing that correct target for the bot lane engage.
That's a really good combo there. Ended up hooking him, putting him on top of a trap that was laid down. And so that's a really potent combo. I mean, it takes pretty much in-sync timing there. A lot of people will mess it up where the hook comes through, then you didn't believe that he was going to land it, and the trap doesn't arm in time. So being on top of it and just throwing down the trap as the hook comes out so it gets pulled over is very key. You can see, once again, Contracts waiting for his camps to respawn.
Doesn't have to wait too long on the side of Mike Young, as they are back to farming.
Mike Young's still getting Scuttle Crabs. He's still doing things with just picking up gold on the Spires and whatnot. He's actually hit level 5, whereas Contracts is about to hit level 4.
That's some speed in the jungle. Goes for quick Predators and only the Talisman to get himself a bit more clear in the jungle, but also possibility of some damage on that gank. Bot lane pushed in still 40 to 33. As you see, definitely probably get a few CS in that lane as Sven continues to just keep safe with his Klepto farm. Keep himself under that turret.
The Klepto farm is always a little bit interesting when you look at the numbers, because right now he's even in gold, but he has 2 mana pots. And the question is, does he back and sell them? Does he actually use them in lane? They sell for about 12 gold, so they could end up being like, you know, twice the value of a Klepto proc. Like, that's the thing with Klepto. A lot of people will hold on to the items, then you back and just sell them all. We had to nerf that at one point, actually. Is just nerf the sell price of them.
You get money and money on your money.
But look at this. They're invading right now. Mike Young is making sure that Contracts can't get anything here.
What a troll game as well. You just want to get to your camps. There's also the push in for Mithy here, so they can't even really get coordination over the bot lane. And the Raptors get a bit of attention. So Mike Young gets his Raptors, now starts to deny Contracts as he's already behind in CS.
Exactly. They're trying to make sure that he can't hit that level 6 at a very early point. So Mike Young invades with Bjergsen's priority. And then what happened was definitely backed for the BF sword, and you can see that Sven hasn't backed yet. So Contracts didn't have his bottom lane backing him up, whereas TSM, they did, and Sven's going to take his back now to get a tier and a lot of crystals.
It's pretty crazy they were able to actually all do this, because they had a mismatch back with Mithy in the bot lane, but still provide pressure when Sven goes back and Mithy comes in. They're kind of countering any time they would lose that pressure in the bot lane. Nicely done by TSM. Just a 700 gold lead with all this movement to start things off, and a lot of mana crystals on their side. just piecing things together for
They're
now.
crystals, Marie. But it's so interesting because you could buy boots at that point, unless he has free boots, which I will double check here. He does. So he doesn't want to buy that and instead just goes for the pieces that would bring him the Iceborne Gauntlet later. One into Glacial, one into the Sheen, which is fine. But Bjergsen.
Ooh, the face check. That's going to hurt. Terrified.
Off on the left side. Here comes Mike Young.
How much damage is he going to be able to do? Oh, gets himself to the gummies. Very nicely done. Bjergsen able to pick up the first kill. Contracts just a bit short with damage as High was off on the side.
And that's the difference there in the level 6. Mike Young being able to suppress and pull him through, and then Contracts doesn't have his paranoia, his ultimate, and that's going to be the blue buff going over to TSM.
Blue for him as he starts to get a little bit of his jungle back. It probably feels good, but we'll see here right through the ward. They were able to set it up, and he was actually following Mike Young. It feels good when everything was working out before.
But look at it. Bjergsen gets away with a tiny bit of health there. The root came through, High threw up the wall, but he still just gets pulled right through it. And yeah, they were invading for that blue buff timer, so TSM are trying to be on top of the jungle here, saying that Contracts, he's vulnerable, we have the stronger jungle matchup, and then if their lanes are shoving, they're able to go invade.
Contracts now 34 to 52.
Yeah.
As Mike Young says, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all the camps in his jungle. True Shot Barrage to get a little bit of breathing room here on the bot side of the map.
And that red, I think, will get Contracts to level 6 here after he picks it up. So it's a bit delayed, and it means that he's actually not that strong. He actually gets it off the ward there. Tiny bit of experience. He was that close. But there really isn't a prime target here or lane to go after, because you really want a flash to be blown where it wasn't blown from Bjergsen in that gank at all. So the first paranoia will basically be just to get a flash out, unless they can really stick something like Matt gets a hook into a trap, and they can really get some damage dealt bottom lane.
On a ward. Be good for now. Okay, they step off, but the vision's not going to be any play for TSM. They back up. It's like they're just going to ward up, make sure no vision on their blue, as they're realizing Golden Guardians might want to start making a few moves. And it's kind of dark on that side of the map. Contracts and High now trying to do the buddy system and work together as they set up this vision to slow down what snowball TSM has started. But a good start for having to have these, or for getting these scaling lanes.
Yeah, but right now, TSM are in the lead in pretty much every single lane. Top lane is up 200 gold, 700 in the jungle, mid lane is 600, and then even the 80 carry position, it's 200 up for Sven here. So across the board, there's just tiny advantages adding up to this 2,000 gold lead, with just First Blood being pretty much what's come down on the scoreboard.
Good vision coverage. Haven't really seen too much in the mid lane. Not breaking down Agnivia yet. Bjergsen was only getting help from Mike Young as they spread out to the left and right sides of the lane. Goes ahead and picks up a few more bits of utility for himself. His Contracts is still kind of left stranded, looking for somewhere to go.
But he knows where Skarner is right now because he saw that Spire change over to the red side.
It's the chance. I guess Contracts doesn't have to be on that point. Can always ult there. Can always make the play happen. The team just has to be able to follow up if they're ready for it.
And this has been such an interesting dynamic because as a jungler, you usually look at your winning lane and you play to that lane and the enemy doesn't get to ward up your jungle. But what's happening is TSM are using their winning mid lane to get wards on the bottom side, which is their quote-unquote losing lane in pressure. They shouldn't be able to get deep wards on a Caitlyn, but look at this. They're going to go for a play here. Mithy goes in, delivers Mike Young.
They see
TP.
Very nice ward to start things off. Bjergsen or Haunter, who's first? Oh, they're both going to be here. Haunter walks it down. Hook comes in. Who are they going to want first? Nicely done as they throw down the storm from Anivia. Can't get under the turret. TSM may want out of this as it takes a little too long. And here comes Lorlo down the bot side. Could have actually stayed top as his team held very nice.
Yeah, but he kept his TP. Lorlo did not TP down.
That's true.
And Bjergsen kept his as well. So Lorlo had to back and then ulti in. But this is going to be that Cloud Drake going over to TSM.
Don't want to take it. A lot of vision still behind. So TSM do a little shake and bake. Don't get too much. Do come out of it with the Ocean Drake as they spread the map out.
Yeah, that's honestly pretty good for TSM. There wasn't really much blown there. I like how Haunter waited for Mithy to get the eat over the wall as opposed to flashing, because immediately your instinct is to flash over. But the communication there of, hey, I'm just going to position myself closely, go ahead and devour me over this Anivia wall. Because we've seen multiple times TSM have some communication issues where somebody will flash, then the Devour comes through, and whatnot.
Gotta get all your ducks in a row. LCS going. 117 for Bjergsen as the lane shake-up has cost High a bit. Also getting pushed into his turret, so the advantage there to mid. Top lane looking pretty good. Back and forth. Abyssal Mask to the build here of Haunter as he gets himself itemed up. And a Rod of Ages for Bjergsen now starting to tick along with these tiers. See how far they can get. Bot lane finally about to be opened up. We'll have a bit more map movement here, and we'll see who this benefits first. The fight getting switched around could put TSM in a place to catch Golden Guardians off guard, but it can go both ways.
Yeah, that was big, though, for Golden Guardians. They got to use their bottom lane, their winning lane that they drafted for with the Caitlyn and the Thresh. Got that first turret, and now Deathly is up about 300 gold because of that. So that's really big, because if your winning lane that you drafted is just losing and getting destroyed, you really don't have many points of power in this composition. So now they're going to try to move this Caitlyn around on Golden Guardian's side and try to find opportunities that they can actually use it to knock down turrets while it still has an advantage here. And there you go. You see they're going to move them up to the top side of the map and match this. They didn't even lose a turret in response. They lost the Rift Herald, which could turn into a turret.
The Rift Herald turns into a turret? What game is this?
That would actually be pretty insane. It's like
the alternate use?
That's the third version of the Rift Herald. We lost the turret. You just place it down. It becomes a turret.
Now you just give Rift Herald to Azir every game, and he puts 2 turrets up. You're good to go. Tiers at about 300 for Bjergsen and Sven. Coming up to 300 for High. So they have a bit to go to stack these. It might start to happen more now as we get the lane mix-up going on. Sven now back into a turret and turret lane as they start to farm on the top side of the map.
But you can see Contrax is hovering, shadowing, saying, I want to use this ulti.
Yeah.
When's he going to use it?
At some point.
It's so hard to actually use effectively here because there's a Tahm Kench and Ezreal. I don't even, did that see
forward ward. He might have snuck around it.
I think he did.
Did he sneak into the right spot? I think he could actually still ult here. No, what the ward is going to do? Oh, so close.
Yeah, he actually was not spotted by that ward at all.
Very interesting. Moving through the day like the night.
But up at the top lane.
Ooh.
And Mike Young's here, though.
Good bit of damage. I don't know if they want this with a turret shot. They don't really have the movement. Could get that Realm Warp up. Here comes Bjergsen. He's got Deathly on the back side of the fight. They go straight for Bjergsen, though, as they try to terrify him. Not going to work. Deathly and Matt now running for safety as High was on the base. Could not teleport in from that last fight.
Exactly. High with the back there meant that Bjergsen is the one who ends up roaming. So tried to have different back timers, and that's actually going to be that Rift Herald turning into a turret. And not get this one down top lane.
I actually haven't seen that yet. When you hit somebody with the Nocturne, it says nearsighted.
Yes.
I cannot see.
Yes.
An
That's
interesting display.
It's the debuff that Graves has on his W.
That's right, yeah.
As well as not.
I never see them in my names anymore. Boom! Not a turret this time. Taking one. As they break it down, we'll see this fight one more time. And there's you said High was backing, and
different
it just became TSM's fight.
Yeah, it was actually Bjergsen backed first. High then cleaned out the wave, and then he backed. But Bjergsen then makes it to the lane earlier, finishes off 1 or 2 minions, and then he roams to the top side with the Realm Warp. So using Bjergsen as a pivot again here to have pressure onto the side lanes is something that TSM have found a lot of success with in the second half of the split.
A blue buff to Bjergsen. Help him stack these tiers, get one more check on these. 444 for Bjergsen, 455 Sven, and 344 for High. So still a bit of damage to be ramped up there as they come up on 20 minutes in this game, but 3K already in their pockets ahead is meaning big things. And only Mithy holding on to one of those dematerializers for even a possible chance with Baron, but they're just kind of crushing down and pushing right now.
Yeah, whereas Golden Guardians, I believe they started with Matt having dematerializers as well as High having them, and they used them all. But Haunter has a Banner of Command now in his inventory.
He does.
So they get Baron. Of course, it did actually eat a bit of a nerf with the Baron buffed up cannon minion. With the banner on top of it, I believe it doesn't actually multiply the AD that you get now on it, so it's a little bit weaker, but it's still a bannered up minion, which we have seen do some work. He has used it in the bottom side now, and Sion Lorlo's going to have to deal with that.
We'll get All that vision. Actually, very nice pink wards by TSM. Up and down the river. Just one kind of thrown in there for Golden Guardians as they found some opening. But protecting the top side of the map here, I think that defensive wall is going to drip through this top blue area. And then it's just owned by TSM. Matt looking to possibly make a lantern play here or there. And one hit, maybe some follow-up damage, but the quick blast cone over. Maybe gets himself, oh! Over the wall. Sven takes a quick flash frost to the face, gets himself stunned up, but they are safe, and TSM still good to push.
And taking control of that top side.
You can kind of just push all willy-nilly and do those. You put your AD carry in the front, oh, we're okay. It gets hard for Golden Guardians to want to bite back.
Yeah, it becomes incredibly hard because now TSM, I think they're going to start grouping up a little bit more with their advantage, using this Cho'Gath that now has the completed banner of command and an advantage in terms of CS and gold. And you just use him as a frontliner here. We saw what happened when Contracts ultied in. It's one of the things that Nocturne in general just does not like. Tom Kenches are going to save his target, and then the Skarner just breaks the spell shield with a Q, with anything, and then ulties him, and you don't build tank on Nocturne. You build a lot of penetration sometimes. You can go for a team out item if you want as well, but you can even see just now, Longsword and Warrior, so he's not healthy at all. He's just trying to burst somebody, but bursting anybody on this team is a big task.
Ooh. Realm Warp coming through as well. Just going to be Bjergsen. Oh, he flashes forward. No, he didn't flash forward out. He just snuck out to the side. Beautifully done. And it looks like they're going to be able to follow up on these. Matt goes down first. That's a bit of the crowd control. The box is already gone. And they put Contracts in one as well. 18 minutes in, 4-0 here for TSM.
Yeah, Lorlo doesn't TP in because they think they can actually maybe stop this from happening with Just High, who threw down a wall, but it ends up costing 2 members of Golden Guardians' lives. And now they just continue to siege Bjergsen. He's just walking forward. Mike Young's here too.
They're just so tanky. This is kind of the HP you were talking about. They want to zero these guys out. They're just walking under the turrets. It's going to be hard to get any fight you want, even on your own defensive side. Contracts is up. The rest of the team can now file out of base. But that's TSM turning this one around. They lost bot turret first, but then started to push the map in their favor. Like I said, that could have been TSM's favor when that happened.
Exactly, and TSM matched topside very early on, even though it was a losing lane, and said, we're gonna play and use our mid lane here, our winning mid lane, to go topside, and that's what made the difference. And then this play happens, and it's just the semi-globals. The Realm Warp comes through, using the Abyssal Voyage on top of it, and pivoting. That's 5 people strong in the top side there for TSM. They're just trying to make these swift plays with those globals.
Quick wards. TSM gets a little bit more knowledge of where they can go next. We haven't seen the hits. We haven't seen the fights. It really isn't in Golden Guardians' kind of possession to do so. Seeing that the Nocturne ultimate into Scion Dinner Bell getting rung down the lane to see if they can get an engage. As we said, at this point, I don't think anybody's healthy enough to be in that fight before the rest of the team. They're waiting for TSM to make a mistake, and right now, a 4-0 and 0 Bjergsen. It says no mistakes to be made.
It would have to be a pretty big mistake as well. I just want to talk a little bit more about this Nocturne and the fact that it is kind of an awful situation for him to be in, where there's a lot of things that counter him. And then even think the next layer where you want to go ahead and use the ultimate onto the AD carry, right? Or somebody who's squishy.
Yeah.
Well, Ryze, if you're looking at him, he's going to have the Seraph's Embrace later. He's got a lot of HP. It's hard for you to blow him up, and he'll just return damage. And then you look at the Ezreal, he'll shift away. And even if he doesn't, he's one of the few AD carries who actually builds an armor item in his build with the Iceborne Gauntlet. So your lethality is actually less effective against this AD carry. So TSM, pretty much across the board, have ways to deal with this Nocturne and just make his life miserable. And they have from the start. He's got 3 deaths, and they're just taking all the lanes here, just like they took that bottom one. Now all those outers are out, and they have control of the jungle. So Nocturne even getting farm will become a hard thing to do here.
And making his life a living hell just in items. You were mentioning before that they were making sure he was not hitting 6 at all. It was a level 5, almost 6 Mike Young to Contracts 4.5 at that point because of the Raptor steals. Bjergsen's pushing mid. So they've actually done a lot to say, no game for you, Contracts. You don't get to play today.
Yeah, they drafted so that he wasn't able to be very effective, and then they played around mid lane to circumvent the issues they were having bottom in the draft with the Caitlyn and Thresh having more priority.
Right.
And then when they swapped it, it was just semi-globals. The composition comes together now. So they made it through that early game off of Bjergsen and Mike Young teaming up to kind of control the jungle, and now it's about the team just getting on the same page, using the Abyssal Voyage and the Realm Warp to get behind and start forcing fights on Golden Guardians. And like you said, Bjergsen's 4-0. He actually has all of the kills on the team.
Full participation from him and Mike Young. Smithy was able to get his hands on a few kills as he voyaged around the map. Oh my word, it's like a 3v1. Bjergsen's just standing there in front of the enemy, almost takes down High by himself with a little bit of help from Mithy to get out forward. That's going to be the kill onto Contracts. They're still looking for High on the backside. Mithy getting a little too low as Hansa starts to flank in. Mike Young just coming from behind the turret. They're going to get a double kill for Bjergsen as now their eyes on the turret, but possibly going back for Baron.
I love that. The special delivery Skarner comes up from behind. The Caitlyn has no idea, just snatches her and pulls her back and definitely goes down.
Where a play-by-play does not expect the next member of a team to come from.
TP from High. They're going to maybe try to contest this, but it is a Cho'Gath, and it's 1,000 right there.
Full vision, hit down, and a quick one at that. Mike Young didn't even get to smite. They're just like, bite it, hit it, take it down, and there is the banner. Cannon Minion going to be coming up, and see this fight one more time.
Does so much damage, so High is basically out of this fight for all intents and purposes. Then, just the Devourer there on the target. Mithy says, all right, time to go in. Puts himself in, but Bjergsen also flash roots at the same time, dodges the hook, and just combos Contracts down. And then the Realm Warp, Bjergsen gets out of the Realm Warp, but Mike Young is like, wait, I'm not done. Shows up behind him, flashes and grabs deftly, and pulls him in. I love that when the Rise throws down the Realm Warp for his teammate.
They're going to be heading back for now. They don't want to try anything onto the mid lane. And those fights are always so hard to consider whether to go in or not. And then you realize might have been a bad idea. You're trying to catch TSM. They've had the upper hand. But you started a fight where High just went down to 10% HP. He's not having fun in that fight anymore. And probably nobody else is going to follow up either. It's like that last moment where you're telling your brain no, but you hit yes and you hit that. You hit the go button.
Yeah, and Bjergsen is just so huge this game. He has all 6 of his team's kills. He is at 3 items now with a Zhonya's, a Rod of Ages, and a Seraph's Embrace. So all of them have defensive stats on that Rise. He's 4,000, almost 4,000 gold up.
No, he is, yeah. 11,000 to the 7,900. So right around there with some change, yeah, it's close to 4,000.
I said 4,000, I was like, it's actually more like 3,000. But still, 3,300. Very, very good for Bjergsen here. He has been turning it on in the second half of the split. And it's one of those things where everybody else is starting to slump a little bit near the top. He was out of the MVP conversation for a very long time.
Whoa.
Look at that. Oh!
Can't even be in their own jungle. Everybody feeling empowered now, and that's what happens. You get Bjergsen going again, and kind of the team is just behind him.
Now a 1v3.
Bjergsen on the top side. Let's see how this works. Zanya goes down. Look at that. Look at the stretch out there. The Superman coming from Bjergsen, and it looks like they're going to be able to close down on this fight. Bjergsen alive? No.
Yeah, he is.
Getting more kills. Think you can take him down. It was a 3v1. The Zanya's bought enough time for the rest of the team to get there, and Sven was already working on the mid lane.
Yep, Sven able to get himself on the board there as well, pushes down that turret, and that's 7 kills for Bjergsen out of the 8. And look at this, Hanser.
It looks like it could actually hurt. I don't know if the team's going to be able to get to him in time. They throw everything in the kitchen sink at Hanser, but that gives the rest of the team time in the base.
Exactly. The rest of the team is just shredding these turrets. The top lane, the mid lane. These are inhibitor turrets.
What a game. TSM showing an immense amount of power and control over what they're doing and how they're doing it from the get-go here, and it's exactly what fans want to see come playoff time. Come playoff TSM. They take down 2 inhibs. They are out of the base with 1 left standing on the bot side for Golden Guardians.
Remember, TSM last week were even looking on the upswing. They beat TL and they beat Cloud9. In the second half of the split, they've only lost to Clutch and 100 Thieves.
Yep.
So they've taken down Echo Fox, they've taken down Liquid and Cloud9. They've been looking so good here. They're 5-2 in the second half of the split, and they have been kind of completely different than that first half and that slump that they were experiencing.
Finding a way to not be best of 1 TSM, lose first game.
Yeah.
Find a way to take that first game every time, but now in stellar fashion. And there's really almost no way to come back. When you create those games, like you said before, of multiple chances of a mistake, or if TSM kind of flubs something, they can still work the map so easily, calmly. When you put yourself this far ahead, you can actually work on different things or make sure things are in order for the team.
And it's just kind of getting everybody's styles to gel, because you think of Sven and Mithy on G2. A lot of it was Mithy kind of calling the shots in those lanes, and then Sven would turn on in the late game. So having a team that doesn't have to have a winning bottom lane, but can have a pivot mid with Bjergsen, and integrating Mike Young seems to be crucial for them. The guy that they brought on, the guy who just had only one split under his belt, he's not a veteran or a champion like all of these other guys on the team. He was the one that a lot of question marks were around. But now that they brought on Weldon to work with him, to get him fully integrated with the team, we saw what he was doing alongside Bjergsen in this early game.
Absolutely. And to be honest, it's not very nice 6,000 gold power play coming in from the Baron, working the top and bottom. But to be honest, in that as well, today was kind of an expected win coming in for them. It wasn't really the Golden Guardians win that people were worried about. Is does it go on from that? Can they continue to win? This is one they figured might be a trap game, but TSM can find their way past that most of the time.
Well, the fun thing for them is that it wouldn't have been a trap game if they win it, because then they lock in playoffs.
Exactly.
TSM can taste it. They can taste that last inhibitor going down here.
Exactly. Be that spike pit. If they fall in 8-1 as they make their way onto the Nexus turrets, see if they can make it happen. Sven a little too far forward. They could get ahead of themselves here and definitely lose a little bit of ground, but they have a lot of ground to work with. Hook misses from Matt as he tries to put a few final plays in the hands of Golden Guardians. Quick clear by the minions. They aren't even spawning from the Nexus as Bjergsen's throwing out the Spell Flux.
Bjergsen tried to ulti some minions in. Didn't quite get the ones he wanted. He's got some melees in there. But now it's just the Anivia wave clear on these Nexus turrets. This is really the last stand here for Golden Guardians. Lights out.
They say they want topside. Bjergsen actually takes a pretty big hit. Contracts has that damage. Where's the next one? Definitely goes down immediately as he tries to get himself into the fight. I should say out of the fight from Mike Young. And now they are on to the fountain. TSM looking for the Nexus turrets. TSM with their eyes on playoffs. And 20 minutes into the game, 28 minutes, I should say. Lorlo's the last thing standing between him and the rest of his teammates, but they're behind the Nexus. TSM's looking for the victory at 9-7. They pull themselves back from a grim place in the standings, and TSM lock in playoffs.
And we've heard these guys talk about how TSM, during the first half of the split, they've never missed playoffs. They've never missed a finals. They did not want to be the first roster to do so, and they definitely are not so far. They've locked in playoffs for themselves. And that means CLG cannot make playoffs now. It was called a miracle run because that's what it would take. It would have taken a miracle.
Absolutely. And TSM came knowing what competition is well. They have to think if that happens, CLG then gets a chance. People are harder to fight in playoffs. Let's get them out. Let's make that our playoff spot and know that we can beat the other teams and have that will be going to that playoff position.
And they have so far. Beat Cloud9, beat Liquid. They've lost to Clutch and 100 Thieves. Those are the two.
Well, they're Clutch and they're Thieves, man. They steal that from you. Gotta be careful.
That's true. But even coming into playoffs right now, TSM want to focus on getting a better position.
Absolutely.
Right out of the gate.
And I think we have seen a lot of focus towards that jungle. Talk about Mike Young here and there. But it definitely seems like there's more confidence and support in-game around that. Him and Bjergsen dismantled Contract's jungle this time. Before, it would kind of be Mike Young looking unsure, not activating those plays by himself or feeling that anybody would be behind him. But everything was in step in that early game for TSM.
Exactly. They had a very well-thought-out plan is what it looked like, a very well-coordinated one where they were going to use Bjergsen's lane to circumvent the issue of the bottom lane and get into that bottom side jungle, which then shuts down Contracts from going to the most obvious place that he would want to go. So they were reading their opponent's movements and playing around that and shutting it down. I thought that is what you want to see from TSM, and then they invaded the blue buff, a classic from them, to give Bjergsen another kind of edge over his opponent. So when he has blue and you don't on the other side, he can constantly enforce his will, impose his will on the game, and then roam.
And what kind of happens if that early kill goes over, right? When Bjergsen went down to having to flash, get those heals in the river, and then right there, Mike Young is able to take down Contracts. That sways the game. That gives high a possible assist, and that start things off much differently. So
Major Blue doesn't go over as well.
Yeah, they were trying to stop that snowball early, but it just couldn't happen. So right now, we're going to send it down to Avali and TSM's massive tank in the top lane.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Hanser. Congratulations to both you and TSM, not only on that victory, but for securing playoffs. How does it feel knowing that you've made it?
Feels really great. Not much to say. I mean, it was like pretty expected, and for me, this win, man, it was like my team was just carrying me. I'm not doing anything, so yeah, it's nice.
Well, I think Bjergsen was really popping off in mid. I wanted to ask you a little bit about maybe team mentality, and now that you've secured this win, secured playoffs, what's going through your guys' head?
Same as usual. Like we just gotta improve and make sure we're the best by finals.
What are you looking to improve, maybe to focus on going into playoffs?
I think we have just like still some things to iron out, like team issues, individual mistakes that we keep making, just learning to play around the current meta, and like there's like different champion picks popping up, so just mainly that, like adapting to the patch and stuff like that.
Well, with this victory, you also crushed CLG's chances to make playoffs. And funny enough, you play both them and Biofrost tomorrow. Thoughts going into that match?
Free LG.
Free LG. Well, there you have it. Congratulations again on your win, Hanser. And for more on the game, let's hear from the analyst desk.
Thank you very much.